What makes something satisfying?
Whoa! What if we each just took a few days to make the most satisfying render we could possibly think of?
One of these fine gentlemen is gonna get this computer if they win this challenge.
Thanks to SimpliSafe for sponsoring this video. Stick around to find out how you can get this award-winning home security system.
Tactical 3 loads is done. We just spent the last few weeks working on visual effects for it, so we're a little burnt out from doing effects. So I think it's time to kind of redirect our energy towards something a little bit more satisfying. I was watching some like really satisfying simulations on Instagram, and I realized, you know what? Now's the perfect time for us to try that. So we're gonna be kind of like figuring out today what exactly we want to simulate and how we make it satisfying. First off, what makes something satisfying? What's the best of the last month?
What the heck?
Oh my god, that's just terrifying.
Is something satisfying if it's also creepy?
Well, that's personal, you know?
Ooh, nice. I like
That's
that.
pretty sweet.
Oh, and it loops. It loops. See, that's another thing. I think a good GIF needs to perfectly loop.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Agreed, 100%.
So rule number 1, it has to loop.
Yes. Yes.
See, that's satisfying. That's satisfying. I think that actually is another thing that goes into the satisfaction is like, it looks extremely real. It looks like you can touch it. And like, the more you can like taste it and touch it, the better.
Dude, it's like visual ASMR.
It is, 100%. Here we're starting to get there.
Whoa.
This is
Starting
it.
to get there.
Whoa. The
Dude, that
shape.
part?
Nice.
That's hilarious. Okay, this
is peak.
Yeah, this is top notch right here.
Ooh, that's satisfying.
so sad.
The motion is satisfying here because it always just barely lines up perfectly.
It has everything. It's that perfect fit. It's looping. The colors and the design is really well done. It feels like I can touch it. It's rendered very well. It's lit very well. This is what I'm trying to emulate here with my render.
There's so many different things we could simulate here. Like, what do you guys?
I am gonna do something food related.
Oh, you are?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm probably gonna do a smoke simulation
Ooh.
because I've started messing around with this program called Embergen.
I definitely want to do a Japanese themed wooden something. Hearing the sound of like hollow bamboo going against each other and like tuk, 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 tuk. I feel like half of this is going to be in the sound design.
Oh, here's a challenge. We all have to do sound design, but we're not allowed to use any sound effects, only our mouth.
I'm going to accept your challenge. It's a great idea, and it's a way for me to make my render feel more tangible.
For smoke, am I just gonna like blow into the mic like?
Puget like rushed a call yesterday with me and Jake and said, hey, NVIDIA really wants to work with us. They're like, do you guys know these guys named Cordo Digital? They wanted Puget to make a fully custom system integrated with their new RTX 3090. It's going to be a CG VFX wizard computer.
I don't want the 3090.
The computers are going to go to Wren or Peter, so it could be the prize for this competition here.
This is not supposed to be the stakes for this video.
Peter is like ready to be uncaged and unleashed on this tournament right now. Yeah, if I win, I get to decide who gets it because I'm already set up with a nice system. I have the power to choose between Wren or Peter.
So normally when we do these render challenges, we only have a small amount of time. No! God! Not today! We're going to put all of our effort to make sure that we can do the best that we can do. So we will take the rest of this week to work on our renders, and at the end of it, Sam and Niko will judge them to see which ones are the most satisfactory. 2020 has been a year of non-satisfying events, and we are here to end that.
Damn!
Statues of the gods. This must be their garden.
All right, so I've been playing a ton of Ghost of Tsushima, and I'm totally obsessed. I mean, I love the Japanese culture. Been there twice. The looping animation to me is very peaceful. It's very zen, so I went with a little Zen garden experience, a looping infinite circle. This represents a whole lot of things, but in my case, it just represents life and death, creation and destruction. There's a whole lot of stuff going on with that. But basically, when I'm putting together this Japanese Zen garden, I am trying to gather as many like references as possible so that I can model all this stuff by hand in C4D from scratch.
So, I have an idea for my render. Basically, I want to make this box about yay big, and on it says perfect breakfast. and it unfolds into a tiny factory that's sole purpose is to make the perfect breakfast. And the reason I want to do this is because back when I lived in San Francisco, me and the old ball and chain would be eating breakfast, and we would always make this toast with cream cheese and oregano and tomato. So I want to make a render that's satisfying auditorially in the tactile sense and emotionally, because isn't that what it's all about?
Hey, buddy. Come here. Good boy. Who's a good boy, Gizmo? All right, I'm here, and the idea that I've come up with to do is to basically 3D scan my head and have like my nostrils or my eyeballs or my mouth or something emit smoke. And it's gonna be cold smoke, so it actually falls rather than rises. That's not all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try to actually stick my head in the ground a little bit so that I have a bit of a static scene for the smoke to interact with.
The way I'm making this food in the render is I'm actually using a process called photogrammetry, which is taking a camera and orbiting around an object while taking photos. And then you feed these photos to a software in the computer, which calculates the position of the camera and then finds common points in the photos and reconstructs the geometry based on those points. So that's what I did for the toast. I did one scan of just the toast, and then one scan of the toast with cream cheese on it, and then one scan of the toast with cream cheese and oregano and tomato on it. And then I'm going to hopefully seamlessly blend these different 3D models together in the final render.
So I've now clumped my head into the grass here. My whole head and the background are just a photo frame. It's still and not moving, but my eyes are moving. There's kind of some weird, uncomfortable artifacting going on. I'm already afraid that this isn't gonna be a satisfying simulation, because I think this is just gonna kind of be a little bit of some nightmare fuel. This is the UV map for my face. This is the texture that wraps around the 3D model of my head. Like I said, nightmare fuel.
So my goal here is to figure out how I can animate the rake here around the Zen garden seamlessly. What I did first was made sure that these rocks were duplicated 180 degrees onto this other side. That's so I can get the perfect symmetry, because the camera is only going around the circle by half, so 180 degrees. I'm not doing a 360. Once I got this, right, I'm going into Photoshop and I'm using this render as a reference. So what I'm going to do is use a brush. I'm going to basically draw the perfect pattern, and then I'll duplicate it onto the other side. So everything on the left is an exact duplicate of what is on the right. Okay, so it's a perfect 180, it loops seamlessly. So once I have this displacement map, then I can finally bring it back into Cinema 4D and displace my sand. Anything that's gray stays where it is, and anything that is darker can go down or up depending on where I choose. Now the last challenge I have for myself with this rake is to figure out how to get the actual rake to look like it's raking across the sand. I don't want to simulate it. That's going to be way too intense. So what I had to do is actually animate the displacement map in After Effects with just some animated masks here. Then I had to line that up, drop it in as a displacement map in Cinema 4D, and it actually worked. It gave a pretty nice result, I thought.
So, okay, I now know how to use EmberGen, but first I gotta take this shot into Cinema 4D so that I can actually build out the scene, add some geometry like my head and the fence, and then I'll bring that into EmberGen where I will simulate some smoke. And exactly what I will be simulating, I have yet to figure out, so...
Coffee is important for making renders. It's not. It's just a chemical dependency. So the biggest challenge I'm having right now is how to actually construct this thing. I feel like I need to be an engineer to do this, because to make something that fits inside a box, can unfold, and then be a functioning factory that could realistically make its own breakfast is much more challenging than I thought it would be. So kudos to the people who make these kinds of renders every other day.
It is 2:30 a.m. Trying to get myself to work. Managed to import some simple geometry for the fence and that 3D mesh in my head. Basically everywhere that's red, the smoke is not gonna simulate, and it is gonna simulate in there. And what I did was I put little smoke emitters like on my nostrils and my ears, and I spent the last several hours just kind of like dialing in the settings to get something that looked interesting. Look at that, that's basically real time. Isn't that crazy? It might be pretty cool. I'm starting to have doubts this is gonna be satisfying.
So So today I'm going into the studio to show everybody the render. I was up till 3 a.m. last night, banging away on this thing. I was way too ambitious. It took way too much time.
Man, to be honest, I kind of bit off a bit more than I can chew with this thing. Now, again, I had a couple problems here in the end. Still, I'd have to spend a few more hours with it, but I just don't have the time. We got to get this in and deliver it within the next couple hours here.
Although this video was super challenging to make, it was really fun. You have this idea in your head starting out and you have no idea how it's going to take shape or if it's even going to work. And then you just start throwing stuff together and stuff starts working and you're like, this is really satisfying. So this render wasn't just satisfying to watch, but man, it was satisfying to make.
Good luck to Peter, good luck to Wren, because I think I did a pretty good job here. Let's see what Sam and Niko think. This was way more of a challenge than I thought it would be.
For Clint. Clint made it a much bigger challenge for himself because he decided to be super ambitious about it, which I can relate to. I've been there.
Why? Are you trying to render out a volume at 3,000 samples?
All right, time to take a look at the render from Peter. Dude,
How long were you working on
that
this?
FOV change.
Wow! It doesn't loop.
It sort of loops.
It
like
sorta loops.
It's a cop-out loop. It's a whip pan.
You could have made this loop with just a little bit more effort.
All right. This is a 9 out of 10 Oz.
This is definitely a 9 out of 10. It's way beyond what I was expecting to see in this render challenge. Also, the amount of detail is nuts. I deduct 1 because honestly, the loop is a cop-out.
Oh yeah, that's what I say. 9 out of 10 because it doesn't loop. Still great.
I am honestly incredibly impressed, Peter. You have come a long way with your Blender abilities over the last few years. Remember when we did that competition a few years ago?
Wren doesn't stand a f***ing chance. I'm gonna destroy that piece of shit.
All right, Wren, let's check out this render.
Oh, whoa. Whoa! That's so sick. I'd say this is very satisfying.
Unfortunately, there are still several things I'd like to fix about it. There's I did the whole grass mat technique with my neck, you know? But I didn't do it with my shadows. So I have this harsh shadow for my head going along the ground.
I noticed the hard line across the grass. You'd need a little bit of displacement in there to just, offset that shadow a little bit. Or even Photoshop, just...
Well, I gave this 8 out of 10 booze because a happy Halloween, Wren.
Look, as far as a satisfying render goes, I give it a 5 out of 10. Whoa! I'm sorry, I don't mean to go real harsh on you. As far as a technical render goes, it's a 7 out of 10. Obviously, the theme is not satisfying whatsoever. Yeah. The smoke puffs out satisfyingly. It's very, very clean. It's as far as renders go, it's very high res, it's very clean.
But I also will point out, it is a flawless loop.
I did notice that. Your smoke continues, and looping smoke is tricky. I wonder what Clint's got, because currently Peter's in a heavy lead.
Heavy lead? Heavy lead?
Pretty heavy lead.
I want to point out that I held to the initial rules. I have a flawless loop. I have sound design from my mouth, Clint.
Really?
Yeah,
Did you really?
I was blowing into the mic. I was
Nice.
how much sound did you produce from your mouth, Clint?
Bro. I forgot. I'm gonna accept your challenge. Yeah, well, it wasn't a requirement, but it was a bonus
Requirement. We all agreed to do all of the sound design using just our mouths.
It was a rule for the challenge.
Clint totally broke the rules. He should be disqualified.
I didn't check a box. All right, I didn't break a rule.
No way!
Wait a second.
Puget heard we were making satisfying renders, and they needed some satisfaction, so they gave us a new computer with a 3090 in it. This literally just came in right now.
That is the computer we talked about here, too.
Well, one of these fine gentlemen is gonna get this computer if they win this challenge.
God dang it, I bit off way more than I could chew on this one.
Stop! This is how each one starts. Everyone's oh, this one sucks.
I had to render it at 720 by 404.
Wait, that is not
delete it.
satisfying.
God, he actually...
Wait!
No!
Oh my god.
You did! He emptied the trash. He emptied the trash.
Should we watch this on a phone?
No, it doesn't loop on your... Hush!
Did it just loop?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good loop.
How does this brush
Does it
go
clip
through
the
this rock here?
Yeah.
That's probably
I saw it.
I made everything. Everything's by hand except for obviously the mega scans.
But I do have one question though. If I'm not mistaken, one of the requirements was make the sounds with your mouth. So if you could demonstrate the babbling brook for us.
The babbling brook first?
Yeah.
All right, ready? So that's the brook.
All right. And the big bell sounded so rich.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all I needed. Thank you.
Clint, this is really good.
Yeah, that's super cool,
Yeah.
I
man.
think Sam and I are going to need to deliberate privately.
Okay.
Here, let's deliberate it right here, just out of earshot.
All right. So Clint's is really good and arguably had all the elements of a satisfying render, but it was really noisy to the point where it's flickery.
Clint had a really good one, but it looks like he was like about a day behind on getting it done. The render was rushed. It's super grainy. Kind of looks like a cinematic from like a 90s game. Satisfying though, but not as satisfying as Peter's.
Three of you delivered some excellent renders today. Some of them were complicated. Some of them were technical achievements. Some of them had immense satisfaction with incredible loops, but only one could be a winner.
I must inform you.
Yeah.
It's Peter.
It's all fun!
You guys are all great. You're still all great. We still love you all.
Can I have your old computer, Peter?
That's my seat now, son.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I have the fattest head.
Huge, man.
Listen, I'm very used to losing, so this is fine. What I initially wanted to do was far more ambitious than I knew I was capable of, and so I listened to myself to not do the more ambitious thing.
How many times have you learned this lesson?
I don't learn it. That's the thing. I don't learn this lesson, dude. I want to make these awesome things that I see in my head. I could have smoothed out some edges if I had scaled back a little bit, but...
Dude, honestly, same. I bit off so much more than I could chew. It's always just analyzing how much you want to die per project, because I could have worked on this for a month, but being like brought back down to a week made me crunch so hard, and I thought I was gonna be able to do so much more than I was, and I always am learning this lesson of biting off more than I can chew and regretting it, but then having something I'm happy with. So it's just that balance.
It can always be better, but you gotta find the point at where it's like good enough and still awesome, while still not taking all your time, so you can move on.
Come here, baby.
All right, here we go.
Peter.